Hey guys, how's it going? Give you a little update on this Briggs and Stratton vintage 3.5 horsepower motor rebuild. Okay, now I'm going to show you something with this. I honed this thing out 10. I'm going to tell you what, this was a nightmare. I actually hand sanded some of this in to get as close as I could, and I'll explain why in a little bit. This thing was overheated really bad. Okay, let's see. Pretty decent. It's not bad. Some of it's a little small, but that's okay. Let me see if I can. Okay. A little bit. Be out just a little bit. Thou right there, big. Okay. Check that just because, so I can see that on video. So I have some kind of record. Okay. Yeah, pretty decent. It's not bad. Because what happened was this thing was a nightmare to get in tolerance. This thing was overheated. I had to flat file this. And each one of these head bolts, you can see it was like pulled up like this cone. And this here, you can tell this was like this. So I actually flat filed roughly almost 5 thou off this block. Be careful doing that. You gotta know what you're doing if you do that. So right here, still got a little bit of a divot, but I can't get a 3 thou feelers gauge under my cylinder head, so I'm pretty good. Now the crank, I got the crank clearance real nice. This is that new old stock crank. See how nice that spins. This bearing here that I reamed, I have the oil clearance set to about 1.5 thou, which means the crank is 874 thousandths and a half, and his bearing is 876. So that should be pretty decent. End play, roughly 20 thou. You get this apart. I had to grind a gear to get that to fit, which wasn't easy. This isn't really tight, it's just kind of snugged up. And honing that, what I had to do, let me get to that. When you hone with this tool, sometimes you have to spend a lot of time down. Let me get it apart first, I'll show you. Now I actually hand sand about 1/2 thou to 1 thou because this was wore so bad, it was like up around in here was like 8 thousandths. And you need usually more than that for honing, so it stays true. Okay. New old stock sump. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, everything's looking pretty good. There's the spinning out on there up in here. Seems pretty good. That's one of the, maybe I'll do another video, tips on how to rebuild these. Like you got to sand your bearings a little bit. 500 grit. That's what I found. I'll explain why in another video, but okay. Now down in this bore, got to spend time right here a lot. Had to hone and hone. Most of the time I spent down right in here. Okay, because right where those head bolts are, that's where I was having the trouble. It was all like, I guess like star shaped, the bore. And I was like, man, what do I do? So I took sandpaper, I sanded in spots. I got her pretty good. I don't recommend doing that. That's why years ago, guys, they wouldn't touch these motors. There's a few machine shops like, oh no, we ain't touching them. No, no. That's probably why. And you got to be careful. These stones aren't for aluminum, right? If you look for the stones for aluminum, they'll tell you unavailable. They suppose you have a part number. You want to use finger pressure here when you hone with it. Don't put a wrench on this because you'll cause scores and you'll destroy your bore. And it's a matter of patience. You might have hours doing it, but I did get it in. This is the 10 thou piston. I fitted the rings. I got to get a few more parts. I want to get oil slinger. Let me show you the oil slinger. It's kind of wore out. Pretty well wore out. So I got to get an oil slinger. I got to get a couple valves, lifters, a wrist pin. I want this to be like 100% rebuild, basically like remanufactured. That's the new old stock sump. Yep, this thing should turn out real well. Let me show you the camshaft. This is the actual camshaft in a vintage box. I just stuck, that's red grease I just put on there so it don't rust. This is the actual camshaft for this motor. Not that plastic junk they have. Some of them, they got that junky plastic camshafts. Like I said, it's just red grease. Now this crank here is a Model 8 Briggs, okay? Now the difference is this counterweight here, smaller. You can see the difference. This is the new crank, the exact crank for this motor. Okay, so how much bigger that is versus that one. That'll make a little bit of a difference in power. So this is a decent crank. I do have a Model 8 Briggs, which is like 3 horsepower. I'm going to try to rebuild that motor too, get it going. It's kind of a neat, this job isn't for everybody, definitely not. Just the bearing here, let's see. I have it staked better so it shouldn't go nowhere. Yeah, looks pretty decent. I think it's lined up absolutely perfect. That's what everybody said. He says, you'll never get that bearing in there. Oh, you'll never line it up. I said, I did. Well, you don't know me. Remember up the machine shop, there was a job. The whole location had to be within 0.2 of a thousandths of an inch, okay, from the datum surface. CNC mill with one of them fancy electronic probes, that was all taken. He says, oh, we need it, okay. I had 5 guys around me. You know how I did it? I did it with an edge finder. What I did is I touched off on the part 10 times in a row, and I said, well, if I get them digitals to repeat 10 times in a row, because I knew that mill very well, I said it should be right on. And I took it into the QC department. The guy checked it. He says, damn kid, he says, you're freaking good. And he says, how in the hell did you do that? I says, I used an edge finder. My supervisor was friggin' flipping out. I said, well, there's 5 witnesses that watched me. So, sometimes I do some crazy stuff. Sometimes it's guesswork, but I guess I'm a good guesser. Yeah, there's the intake valve, or not, exhaust valve, this one that I did. You can see that slapped up real nice. Probably can't see that brass valve guide in there. Got it all set. Pretty much machine work on this puppy's done. Let's been a hell of a learning experience. Now I got to get some of the other parts, put it together slowly when I get time. There's that. Oh, when I was a kid I broke that because this stripped out, this bolt here, you know, I tried to put a bigger bolt in there and I snapped it. You gotta be good and know how to fix your mistakes. I'm pretty good at it. Sometimes I get creative. But hey guys, hey. Next time, keep feeling the heat.